Hello everybody, Birdsdord 1560. Welcome back to the Grafton and Upton HO layout. Just gonna give a quick update on everything that's been going on here. Basically because over the summer got a lot of work done. Once September hit, nothing. But in the past couple days I did get bored and do a couple more things. But besides that, it's just been sitting around. There's a lot more to do. I have a lot I want to do before the end of the year. So I'm just going to dive right in and explain the positive thing, which is what I've already done. So my system of making terrain has worked. And you can see that underneath in this space, there's plenty of room to put in staging tracks. Lots of space underneath. And even though it's not a double deck layout, it's a single level layout, there's double utilization of space. So most of the underside will be available for staging space, and the top layer will be the actual layout itself. And the cardboard tubes, those worked really nicely. I just poured a couple yesterday. These were just sitting in the time lapse, but I just put some glue in them, so that's not really going to affect how that looks. But there's one other thing that I'll need to talk about later related to the time lapse. And then on top, I did try to do a cardboard lattice, but because paper mache is wet, when I put it down it just sank. So what I did was, to remedy the problem, I made some 1x1 squares, like so. And most of the layout actually works out to be in 1x1 spaces. So I put a bunch of those down and then started doing more layers on top, and in the end you get nice durable terrain. It's not quite done yet. I do have to do correction, mainly because there are some very large dips, and of course it's flat, so to get in all of the little things, make the terrain more natural, I have to add cardboard and stuff and more layers. But even just as is, if I were to paint over this now, it's still got that nice variation. It's not consistent or flat, and the world isn't flat, so points for realism. That's the idea there. The other thing that's not along the same idea of that for terrain is here at Chestnut Street. I'm going to use foam, cut this out because there's some really rapid changes in grade, and I just think it'll look nicer. And I do have to work on this again because there's no oxygen underneath, so when I put down the edible glue, that didn't work. So I'm going to have to redo that in the future. And then on the end of the layout, because I cut the tables at 3 feet, I was like, oh, minimum radius. But when you have to do 2 tracks, not so minimum radius, because it'll go over the edge. So what I did was I made some nice endy things. I haven't put them down yet. Got some foam supports. And it's made out of this, like, it's not the best material, but it's like particle stuff. Like, stuff. I have no idea what it is. But it gets the job done. And I'm going to end up putting a piece of wood under the bottom to spread the weight. And I had 2 extra ballisters lying around from when I did the table legs for the rest of the layout. I was like, oh, perfect, because without it, it sinks drastically. So that's why these are here. So there's going to be wood underneath this, but it does get the idea across. And I don't know if I said it already, but they are removable. This one as well, which I just did yesterday. So this thing, that, and this, that's not in the time lapse, but it'll just pop up when I start the second section of time lapse. And then those 2 are removable, and then in between the tables will be removable pieces. But besides that, it's continuous. The entire terrain feature is continuous from one end of the layout all the way around to the other. And that's the idea, that it's a continuous main line wrapping around the outside of the U and then around the inside and then back around the outside again. So there's no abrupt changes. I'm going to try to make everything flow as nicely as I can. And what was I going to talk about next? Oh, yeah. Speaking of continuous, I did a map on Google Earth. I went through and did some grade mapping, and as it turns out, the grade of the GNU is not continuous. It doesn't just go uphill. It's actually a mountain range. It's like horrendously brutal. So I can see why they need 3 locomotives, but maybe not on a 9-car train of empties. But still, I'm going to have helper service. So when I originally designed it, I was like, oh, I'll just make it continuously go up. But that's not the case anymore. So I was able to catch that and fix it in Grafton, but I didn't feel like recutting the tubes in Hopedale, so I just left them. But because I left the yard flat, what I'm going to do instead is build it up as it goes through the yard, and then add some more foam here, and then it's going to be a couple inches higher. And because I started grade correction over in Upton, just by the powers of non-scientific observation, it looks like it'll line up, and even if it doesn't, I'll make it. So that's the idea on grade, and my notes tell me to go to the map. Version 1.3 of the map, I made some changes just to reflect operational changes. I'm not going to bore you by going over it. Once I finish building the layout, which could take forever, but when I'm finished, I'll go over the map and everything. But all you need to know is that there are a couple Ys, which here's a prototype Y. I color-coded it. Here's the actual Y. It functions the same, but it looks different. But it works exactly the same. That's the idea, and that's the challenge of modeling, making things work. And so, a couple notable things. I did hide the helix and build an engine terminal, and Grafton Yard is huge by number of tracks, but probably about the same capacity as the real one. And reorganized the yard lead, added a controlled siding from Grafton to Upton, oddly enough. I'm going to have a fictional spur into Mendon, because I can do that, and who doesn't want a fictional spur to their own town? And then Milford's, of course, developed, on my layout, unlike the real one. But besides that, it's just about as close as you can get to the real modern Grafton and Upton Railroad. So I'm not going to bore you with going over that today. I'm just going to let you look at it. It's on Google Plus somewhere, probably on the community. So you guys can look at that and if you get bored. So the next steps on the layout are going to be, again, grade correction and getting rid of all the weird bumps and stuff that are here, and then painting it and getting ready to lay track, which the good thing is it's thin, so I can just drill through and run the wiring underneath, so that when I need to fix wiring or rewire stuff, it's nice and neat underneath. The problem is that that's about half my track. That over there is the other half. And I need about 300 feet of track. So hopefully for Christmas, I get some more track. That's the idea. And also DCC. I'm going with Digitrax. And right now, my Bachmann thing, it quit 2 months after I got it. And that was like 2 years ago. And my DC one that's like 50 years old, that broke. Which, I mean, that's okay because it's 50 years old. But the Bachmann one shouldn't have broken. They're supposed to be top-end stuff. And I'll complain about them more in a minute. But I have not enough track and no power. So Christmas this year, get some track, get some power. But I want to have all the terrain done by the end of the year so that I'm ready to start laying track, getting all that ready, and things like that. Couple more things before I end. I'll just stand here. I don't know the numbers yet, but I have to do a little bit more math, but I'll have 2 values for the layout. I'm going to have the layout price, which is terrain, tables, track, DCC, anything that's not locomotives and rolling stock, and then I'll have a separate price for locomotives and rolling stock. So 2 numbers on the screen somewhere, and those will be tallied up as the layout progresses. And my goal is to do it for as cheap as possible, but still maintaining realism and quality. So if you guys have any good techniques, feel free to tell me. Car repairs. Okay. So because I'm building an engine facility, the first things that I'm going to run in there are some cars and locomotives for repairs. And this is where I get to rant about Bachmann. So, Bachmann car, nice, right? Broke the stirrup when it fell off the table, which is partially my fault, and somehow, I forget how, broke the coupler. Same with the caboose. Broke the coupler. No, that's what it's supposed to look like. That's not what it's supposed to look like. It's somewhere in a bag in here. Bachmann car, again. The truck doesn't line up on this one, and it derails frequently. And besides that, everything else works perfectly fine, except for the locomotives, which I can't run because no power, but also on my Athearn CF7, which I'm waiting to paint the locomotives until I can run them in Santa Fe colors on the main. I just want to run them like that, and then I'll start repainting them. This is going to be 1500, if you couldn't realize that. Or 2443. Still lingers on a little bit. I tried to pick a number that was close to that. But I broke one of the fans, which that's a quick fix, but I also broke off one of the sunscreens on the side. So, not too happy about that. But that's what you get for equipment just sitting around collecting dust. And I'm really upset that I can't run stuff. But the idea is that cars and locomotives, if they actually break down during ops, I just put them in the engine shop. So, it's a switching operation, and it adds some realism, it adds action, and it gives me a place to put stuff and take stuff out after it gets fixed. So, I got enough time, I'll talk about it. So, operations and how the layout's going to look. So, around the entire back, did I draw it in? No, I did draw it in. So, from here, around the outside, all the way around, blah, 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 blah. Continuous backdrop. And I'm going to have 4 backdrops. So there's 2 of them, and on one side, it'll be one, and then you flip it upside down, and there's the other. So I'm going to have 4 different seasonal backdrops, 4 sets of trees and bushes and stuff, and some snow to toss on the layout. And the idea is that I live in the Blackstone Valley. I live 3 miles from the Grafton and Upton Railroad. So I can model the GNU as the seasons change outside. Look at that, it's fall right now. There's leaves on the ground. That might also be interesting to model. So as the seasons change, and I'm running snowplow extras, I'm running leaf residue extras, doing different repairs in the spring for washouts, and summer basically is the only time. Oh yeah, summer you do a lot of MOW work. So the layout operationally and in appearance will change just as it does in the real world. And my idea is that because I'm going to try to have all my main videos and rail fanning stuff and layout stuff on a 6-month delay, so when it's winter you'll see a nice video of a warm summer day, and when it's summer you'll see a video of a nice cold winter day. And right now it's fall and it's actually seasonal today, so it won't just be like continuously, no wait, sorry, messed that up. It won't just be that I change everything, all the trees and backdrops one day. I'll change the backdrop every 3 months, but the trees all maybe once a week, pull out some and replace them. So it's a gradual process. It's continuous. And it's going to model what I see outside. It's not going to be just on a set schedule. It'll be whatever's happening in the real world for realism. And ops, I'll just briefly say, I'm working on the schedule now. It's very tight. I'm trying to fit 30 different trains in. I have through freights, high priority intermodals, lots of passenger trains, helper service, locals, switchers. I think that covers everything, but there's a lot of trains, and writing the schedule is difficult, but I can tell you it's the Grafton and Upton Railroad, but it's not, because it's the GNU subdivision of a larger fictional rail company, and it's set 30 years in the future. Most people set their layouts modern or in the past, but this is taking a look at what the potential of the GNU is. Where will it be in the future, and what it might look like, and if it might be more interesting, less interesting. Definitely not going to get more boring, but it's just an idea of seeing what can we see in the future, and maybe 15 years from now we can look and compare to what we thought it was going to be like and what it really is. So that's the update number 2. I'm just going to rant on if I don't stop the video, so there you go. Yay, I did some progress. Congratulate myself, but there's still a lot more to get done, and I can't wait to run some trains. So, as always, if you can see it, you can be it. Bird out.
Most of the time, or some of the time, nothing in mind under the sun. Summer is fine, and weather's bad weather none of the time. It's nothing but blue skies. I deal with them clouds some other time. I'm gone.